From filmmakers behind The Last Dance comes a new, inspiring film about one of the greatest U.S. Olympic basketball teams. Told by the athletes themselves, the Redeem Team follows a comeback story of the 2008 U.S. men's Olympic basketball team. Led by Kobe Bryant, Dwayne Wade, Carmelo Anthony, and LeBron James, the team had everything to lose and everything to prove. Watch The Redeem Team now, only on Netflix. The greatest team of all time, ladies and gentlemen. If you had to say what team was the greatest of all time, who would you say? The greatest basketball team ever assembled.
Ever assembled?
Yeah, and there's a reason why we're asking this, ladies and gentlemen. But before we say why, we just have to get answers out.
Ever assembled? Are we talking about NBA regular season or just any team?
I don't even think it matters. There's probably only 3 options here. I mean,
yes, 3 options are all Olympic teams.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So you asked about in the regular season. Sure, if you want to add that. But who would you say is the greatest team ever assembled?
Probably the 2012 Olympic team. We're being honest.
Okay.
What do you feel?
Well, I mean, there's a team that played overseas in the Olympics before that, 2008.
Yeah, 2008.
Redeem Team. Of course, that roster was pretty stacked. Very similar team, but I think for the sake of this conversation, this episode, I'll go with the 2008 Redeem Team.
Okay.
Which, by the way, y'all, the Redeem Team out now, only on Netflix. Okay, a team with Kobe, Bron, Melo, Wade, all on the same roster. All right, so make sure you go check out that film only on Netflix. It's actually out today. All right, as of this recording. But yeah, 2008 Redeem Team for me. I know you want to go the 2012 route. Both rosters are stacked. I think
what about
the
Dream Team too as well? I think you look at those 3 teams, it's kind of like has to be one of them. So I'm not really mad about either. You got the 2008 Redeem Team, then you got the real Dream Team, then you had the 2012 team with Kobe, LeBron, and Kevin Durant, and then you had the 2008 team we had. Well, I take that back. It probably is the 2008 team. yeah. We really think about it. They had Kobe Bryant, who was in his prime, probably the best basketball player in the NBA during that time. They had LeBron James as well, 24 years old. D Wade was 26, and they had Carmelo Anthony. Like that team was special. Yeah, it may be the 2008 team when you really think about it.
You're talking about, and I think the great thing about that 2008 Redeem Team is that all of them collectively played together as a unit, right? Because the majority of them, that's low key around the peak of their career. Yeah. Right. So it's well, damn, we already know that they're talented, but to come together, and especially for the country too, it ain't just, to win a championship in the league. And they had something to prove. Like everyone knew them, they were obviously individuals, but coming off a disappointing Olympics before that, they're like, all right, y'all, USA looks beatable, right? USA looks human. And so to have that pressure of like, okay, we got to not only win gold, but dominate at the highest level, because people going to compare them to the Dream Team. So
yeah, and it's just crazy because I remember all like the biggest argument or question mark center around that 2008 team was kind of like, who's going to start? Because you had like Kobe, you had Dwayne Wade, you had Carmelo Anthony, you had LeBron James. That was like the biggest question, like who's going to like put their ego aside? And of course it was Dwayne Wade who ended up coming off the bench and ended up, averaging 16 points, which led the team that Olympic run. So that was another like thing, like the drama that centered around them to begin. Like who's going to start? Like, because, all positions was very similar. They're all wings. So it's just like, that was another interesting, factor during that time. Like who's going to start with all these great players?
Yeah, especially too, because sometimes it could be an ego thing, right? Like quiet as it's kept. I know everyone wants to make it seem like, okay, players tend to bond immediately. Listen, if you are fresh off, let's say, coming off an MVP season, or you've been the number 1 option all your life, and then now all of a sudden you're coming off the bench, let alone being the 2nd or 3rd or 4th option, that, that says something. And so I would just say shout out to all the players that kind of made, that summer special, because even though there, people still had the expectation that they were going to win, there were still maybe some questions like, okay, is it going to be in dominating fashion? Yeah. Right? And they went out and did just that. But I think, teams like the 2008 Redeem Team, even though you don't get to see them often or maybe every 4 years, I think even still, they're not cherished as much as they probably should. Right? Like I know we watch all-star games and stuff like that, but I think it hits a little bit differently. One, when you're playing for your country, and 2, when you're playing for something serious, right? Like it was something to prove. It wasn't just like, all right, let's go jog out here. Everybody try and get at least 15 and we call it a day. Like, nah, I think that 08 Redeem team really carried that ship with them. You know, so.
I think they definitely carried that chip with them. And that's one of the most exciting things about that 08 team was kind of like the way they played defense. Like they had 4 of the best perimeter defenders this league has ever seen in Chris Paul, Dwayne Wade, LeBron James, and Kobe Bryant. And it was just like, that's why I really love watching that run because exactly. Chris Paul. That's why I really love watching that run because it was just kind of like the defensive pressure that they had on team's neck from the start of the tip to the end of the game was crazy, you know. On-ball pressure, I'm talking about 90 feet, creating turnovers, fast break transition, all the crazy dunks and highlights and stuff like that we have for the 08 team. It started with defense, and they really set the tone because, they, like you said, they had this chip on their shoulder. They had something to prove, and they wanted the world to know it's like, no, we taking this very, very seriously. Like, we're here for a reason after what happened in the past in 04. So,
yeah, and you mentioned something, too, the whole behind-the-scenes thing, and that kind of brings up the point, too. These are the same filmmakers that brought us The Last Dance, right? And so I think a lot of people became more educated on everything that happened throughout those seasons. Everyone obviously knew the statistics and winning championships, but the behind-the-scenes stuff, that's what I'm really looking forward to most when I watch, you know, this film. It's just like, all right, we saw them dominate on the court, but what happened, you know what I'm saying, in the locker room? You know, what was the relationship like with Coach K and the rest of the players? You know what I'm saying like that. To me, is going to be a unique element. And obviously, shout out to Coach K, too, right? Yeah. Shout out to Coach K and being a Hall of Fame coach, you know, arguably one of the best coaches in sports history, let alone basketball. And then being able to bring all those guys together and still, again, dominate in the way that they did. I'm like, obviously, everyone wants to hear about the players, but I think it would be kind of cool, too, to hear Coach K's thoughts on all of it. You know what I'm saying? From the beginning, the middle, as well as the end, right? Like how was it a challenge, you know what I'm saying, to like really keep everyone's momentum at a high, you know what I'm saying? Because again, you're dealing with egos, all that extra no stuff. At the end of the day, look, you run on the court with LeBron James, Chris Paul, Kobe Bryant, Wade, you know, the extra no's might figure itself out, you know what I'm saying? But
one caveat that the people can say about like where we're selecting teams between the 08 team, the 12 team, and the Dream team, it's kind of like, well, the 08 team, even though they had like this redemption story and stuff like that, the 12 team was like, all right, we're back. This is USA. But the Dream team, I will say, it's just like they completely annihilated their opponents. Like it was not like it was no games close. It was not even like a inkling of like, oh, they may lose. They completely annihilated their opponents. Now the 08 team, they did that to a certain degree, but we all remember kind of like that championship game with Spain. So I want to ask you, do you feel like that is kind of like okay, well, the USA team, the 08 team could have lost compared to these other teams like the 12 and like the Dream team? Do you hold that against? Do you kind of hold that against them?
No, because of who they played. And I think that's a huge factor too when people start to have these conversations. It's like, did they have a tougher journey to get the gold? Sure. Right. But did they play a tougher team? Absolutely. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's always, you know, something to consider. Of course, the $1 million question and something that we all will ask is who would win an actual game, right? The 08 team versus the 12 team, the 08 team versus that Dream team. And I know we've had those conversations before, but I think matchup wise, it depends on what you want, right? If you want athleticism, do you want bigs? Do you want great guard play? But I think, you know, it was definitely exciting to watch the Redeem team play because it was quicker, right? It was run and gun kind of thing.
Yeah.
Especially it was a lot more too. Shout out to Cole. Full court defense being applied too.
Yeah.
Right. Like and
Kobe,
you see a lot of these guys.
LeBron,
yeah, absolutely.
Had
you see
the
a lot
White
of these
in the
guys.
back line.
And you talk about facts. And you talk often about usually these guys are in a position where they got to, you know, they have to be the engine, right? They have to be the ones that score, do a lot of on the offense side. So they got to relax a little bit in the NBA. But for this, everybody alpha, right? So that means everybody should be able to relax, quote unquote, you know what I'm saying, relax at some point. So that means the energy on defense can jump even more. So, and they went out and improved it.
Yeah, the only reason I said that because I remember the Spain game, the U.S. game and the Spain game. It's not like the USA, they were up the entire game, but it was just like we all know what happened, like in that fourth quarter where like Spain was cutting that lead very, very close. And it was a free throw game in the first half, and where Kobe Bryant was in foul trouble, LeBron James was in foul trouble, and Dwayne Wade had 21 points that half. And then we come into the second half, and it's kind of like still a lot of fouls going on, but then like Spain started creeping up. And then Kobe Bryant kind of like took the team on his back, 13 points in the last 8 minutes. And then they ended up that 4-point play, and then they kind of like, all right, it's over with. Like USA, they won and stuff like that. But it was close during those waning moments because of Kobe and LeBron kind of like being in foul trouble. And Dwayne Wade ended the game with 27 points. So, I mean, it was a close game compared to any other like the 12 or Dream Teams like finals. So that's why I had to bring that up.
Yeah, I think the thing I'm looking forward to the most from this film is what the players learn from one another.
Yeah.
You know, because anytime you're in that environment, again, when it's that serious and the stakes are that high and you're playing with other competitive guys, like, okay, what skills are they bringing back to the States?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? What kind of techniques are they looking at from other players and stuff that eventually will carry over to the regular season and later on to the postseason? Because again, obviously when you're in the moment, you're trying to win the gold, right? You're trying to, win for your country. But at the same time, they might have long memories where it's like, all right, I noticed that so-and-so comes off the PNR this way. I noticed that so-and-so, when he gets the ball on the high post, okay, he likes to shoot over his shoulder, so on and so forth. But
and I hope the film shows like you said, the behind the scenes of like practices and stuff like that, guys getting at it and guys competing. Because like you said, it's an ego thing. Like these guys were all alphas, all the best in the world, and also like all relatively young and kind of like in their prime and around the same age. I think Kobe Bryant was 29 years old. That was the second oldest on the team, and Jason Kidd was like 35. So it's like you had a group of guys all in their 20s, all with Eagles, all the best player on their team. And so very, very interesting. So looking forward to the upcoming Redeem Team documentary, October 7th on Netflix.
From filmmakers behind The Last Dance comes a new, inspiring film about one of the greatest U.S. Olympic basketball teams. Told by the athletes themselves, the Redeem Team follows a comeback story of the 2008 U.S. men's Olympic basketball team. Led by Kobe Bryant, Dwayne Wade, Carmelo Anthony, and LeBron James, the team had everything to lose and everything to prove. Watch the Redeem Team now, only on Netflix. Let me ask you something. Will we ever see another team like the Redeem Team?
Well, we saw the 12 team. So, I mean, we saw the 12 team with Kevin Durant, Kobe Bryant, and LeBron James. So, I mean, that's probably the closest thing. We'll get to see that.
Okay, let me reword it, because that both of those teams had, similar players / some of those 08 guys on the 2012 team. So, I mean, like moving forward, though, will we ever see a team like the 2008 Redeem Team?
I don't believe so.
In terms of talent,
because
structure, skill, chemistry, all of that.
I don't believe so, because the only reason why is because this next decade, you can make a legitimate argument that the next decade is going to be ran by two guys that don't even play for the United States roster. For it's like internationally, like the 08 team literally had Kobe Bryant and LeBron James on the same roster together. You know what I'm saying? Those are arguably, to me, top 3 players of all time. So it's just like, even if you look at like the 12 team, they had Kobe Bryant, LeBron James, Kevin Durant. You know how I feel about Kevin Durant. Those are 3 top 10 players of all time in my eyes. You know, I'm including Kevin Durant. We know about Bean and know about LeBron. So probably not. So
yes, that's a good point you make. I mean, I'm assuming the 2 other players you're talking about are Giannis and Luka.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
they're not even on. They're not on. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, they're not even on a USA team. But
that's,
the US.
That's, you know what? Damn, that's another thing too that I'm thinking about.
No.
What other? You don't know. What was I going to ask? What was I going to ask? How was I going to ask?
I was going to ask like the USA team is not going to win a gold or something like that.
No, hell no. That's OD. That's OD.
Okay.
No, they're not. No.
Yeah, because of
USA
Giannis
got
and
too much firepower.
Lucas things. Yeah.
But I was going to ask though. Those other teams, the 2008 team, 2012, and the Dream Team, have they played an individual that was anywhere near the level of Luka or Giannis? Because that's another thing to be considered too. Now, obviously, I would pick literally any of those 3 teams as opposed to having just one dominant player. But like, hey, sometimes all it takes is one player to get hot at the right moment.
That's
I'm
fine.
not saying that those teams led by those players will win, but like
that's fine. But when you got a collective unit of all NBA players, like I don't give a damn how good Giannis or Luka is. They ain't beating the USA team. The USA team could go out and put, literally their top 25 and under players and probably collectively and have a team built around that. It's probably going to still probably beat a team centered around Giannis.
I wouldn't go that far. I wouldn't go that far.
Giannis and like some guys over there in Greece.
That's kind of crazy, but I wouldn't go that far though. I don't think I would, because then to me, in a way, that kind of takes away from the chemistry element.
That's what you got to build chemistry through a training camp.
But I'm saying I think that's kind of what damaged them in probably 2004, and everyone just think like, oh yeah, we don't throw a bunch of talent together and vibe, So especially if you're talking 25 and under.
Trae Young, Jason Tatum, Ja Morant, Devin Booker. Who else am I thinking? I'm missing.
I think Spider graduated. I think Spider graduated from those conversations.
Donovan Mitchell.
I think he's 26 now, bro.
Yeah, we got. Okay, I'm just saying. Well, I'm just thinking about the young talent in the NBA. Like we got Evan Mobley coming up. Like Cade kind of. I feel comfortable. I feel comfortable.
Right. Look, I do too. But you didn't say LeBron or Kevin or Mike or Larry. You know what I'm saying? Those are like, okay.
Of course.
But Giannis, there's obviously there's levels to all this.
Yeah.
But I don't know, it's just something, especially Luka, when it comes to international play.
Yeah. Well, let me tell you something. We just saw the Eurobasket and those two, great talents that's probably going to be the best in the NBA, top 1, 2. Wow, Jason Tatum's in that conversation, but their teams didn't even make it to like the semifinals. So I think the USA team is going to be all right.
Oh yeah, I mean, yeah, they'll be. I think the thing is though, it's going to be interesting to see when that happens, who will be like the
lead guy for the USA.
Right? Yeah, and I don't want to say that because I mean it's anytime you have.
I mean, he's already been to the finals.
Oh my goodness.
He's already been to the finals. I mean, we don't have to look. We don't have to look too hard. Like he's already there. So
well, his teammate, JB, Jaylen Brown.
And to be honest, Luka and Giannis teams don't really put fear in my heart. The only team that I feel like that may have a chance going forward in the next Olympics, and maybe even beyond that, probably France, because especially if Joel Embiid is about to come over as well. Like, and Victor is about to get drafted. Like they're gonna have like a squad, like a really, really good squad. So we'll see. But still, USA all day.
I was about to say, just to be clear, ladies.
I said a chance.
I still have the United States of America.
All right.
Winning everything. But yeah, I mean, so I think kind of reflecting back on like the Redeem team too is like the guys that kind of came off the bench, the guys that kind of even made it even more of a sacrifice. I know. We want to look at and highlight the top names, but at the same time, the roster was extremely stacked. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like this was a roster where, like usually when you're hooping, you know what I'm saying, you got to go against the second unit. You're like, oh, thank goodness we finally hit the bench.
Yeah, I mean,
you rolling 5, 6, 7 Hall of Famers off the bench.
The guy that led the USA team in the 2008 team was Dwayne Wade, and he came off the bench, 16 points per game. During that run, came off the bench.
Low cut Wade,
ball Wade, and then that was also like a proven year. Like D Wade came off 2006, winning the championship, and then those 2 years he was hurt and stuff like that. And people were talking about like, well, we know it's Dwayne Wade. Like, should he even be on the? It's like what? No, like because of those injuries and stuff, and the Heat kind of like started to tail off once they got rid of Shaq and all that stuff. But like D Wade was him doing the 2008 team.
Yeah, but say you know how that go. Anytime someone has a slight injury or a slight mess up, should he? Relax. Still doing it. And I'm glad he went out and showed everyone. All right, everyone, calm down. So that guy, don't get it twisted. But yeah, man, it was so much firepower on that team, and I think moving forward, I'm really glad this documentary is coming out, just to kind of showcase not just what happened on the court, but off it as well. But I also want to know like if there were any rough moments / doubt internally, like not doubt over that they would lose, but like doubt of like, okay, is everything structured to the point where like, okay, we 1000% know this is going to work. right? Like we 1000% made the right decisions. We 1000%
Mm-hmm.
know that the opponent that we face, we feel extremely confident. And again, obviously, when you break it down, name by name, of course. But even still, it's like we've seen other teams give the USA problems that damn sure weren't as talented. So I want to know. I want to be in the room where those decisions were made. That's what I want to hear more of.
Yeah, I think it was the bigger goal. Like you said, we talk about egos and stuff like that. I think that once they knew what they were fighting for and kind of like this is a redemption team, it's kind of like they probably put all that to the side and just like we're going to do what's best for the team. And even looking at Carmelo Anthony became the greatest catch and shoot player in the history of the game during the Olympics. That's how talented that's how talented that team was. Like it's really crazy. Like it's insane.
Imagine having Melo on your team to be a catch and shoot. That's how you
just
know.
Catch and shoot.
That's how you know.
Catch and shoot. The greatest catch and shoot player ever during the Olympics.
That's how you know.
During the 08 run. Like, it's insane. Like
that's how you know shit was getting crazy.
Yeah.
You mean to tell me you got Carmelo Anthony, one of the greatest isolation scorers of all time?
Catch and shoot.
Hey, yo, Melo, just feel me. Just be ready.
Yeah.
Wicked.
Yeah.
And I was watching like the trailer and the preview and stuff, and just kind of seeing like some of the practice squad and them and the players talking about the highs and lows of it all, and going into each game, and it's like it really reminds you that they had a target on their back. And I think despite having talent, anytime you play with a target on your back,
yeah,
like everyone wants to beat you. It's almost like being the number one team in college. It's like it sounds good. But every team's best. Like they can come out lazy the rest of the damn tournament or whatever. But for y'all, everybody gonna be on the same page. So I think to still have that and go out and dominate the way they did speaks volumes. But it's gonna be a good film.
Definitely. Last Dance creators, excellent film. Like
excellent. And that's nothing too. It's like
that's fire
again. Like and shout out to Brian, because obviously when Last Dance dropped and stuff like that, there was some influence to drop some of those I think films a little bit earlier. But I think even still, the comparisons of how detailed and structured The Last Dance was, to know that the same type of people are still bringing that type of energy to the Redeem team, Doc. Yeah, yeah. And we gonna again, man. I'm just happy because I think we're all gonna learn some new things. Like like I think we're gonna like the same way. Watch this. The same way that people viewed Scotty before The Last Dance versus the way they view him now. I think that's going to be the way we view at least one player on the Redeem team. Especially considering, like I said, some of the same people that created The Last Dance are the same ones that are involved with the Redeem team. So it's going to be at least one player where we probably say, you know what, damn.
And I didn't even know. And I kind of got a little. Well. My guess is it's probably going to be Dwayne Wade. I really think people are going to realize the importance of Dwayne Wade and the sacrifices that he made for us, like, coming off the bench and, taking that lesser role to a certain degree, but like he took that role and excelled at that role. And it's just kind of like, we all remember the highlights. We all remember the out of bounds, Dwayne Wade going out, alley-oops. Like we all remember like everything, even like the championship game where, and once again, Kobe and LeBron James both were in foul trouble. Dwayne Wade had 21 points to keep him afloat that half. He finished with 27, which was the most during that game. But like, it's no winning the goal without that first half from Dwayne Wade. So I think it's going to be D Wade.
You know what I think it's going to be? I think it's going to be Coach K. I think there's going to be a lot of segments on a lot of players. But I think there's going to be something special that gets said about Coach K, especially now with, Coach K, on retirement. But even still, obviously his contributions to the game, to Duke, as well as USAB, I think there's going to be a lot of mention about it. Because that's nothing too. The coach usually gets a lot of pressure in these type of situations.
Yeah,
right?
Definitely.
It's like, okay, you Coach K, you know what I'm saying? You got your chips.
He talked about it. He talked about it in the trailer when he was talking about like, LeBron James and how great his high IQ is. And they needed Kobe Bryant for like that leadership and to kind of like, help these guys get over the hump, so to say. So it's just kind of like he talked about it already in the trailer. So I'm definitely looking forward to it. I like that answer, Theus. That's a great answer. Like, I think people are going to realize how great like Coach K really was, and how important Coach K was, not just the players, but the coach, like how important Coach K was to like this redeemed team situation. So
Yeah, because you think about it, like as a coach, you can always like return the next season. Same way as a player, right?
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, as a coach in this situation, you got to wait 4 years to really prove again that like, okay, it wasn't me. You know what I'm saying? It was so that even if you do go back to college, it's like, it just won't be the same. So I think the energy that, Coach K had, having that structure and just the ultimate respect, because again, as talented as these guys are, they could easily say, you know what, we're not really rocking with Coach K. You know what I'm saying? He might have been great in college, but this is a different level. Now again, obviously the players have respect for him. It's Coach K at the end of the day. But I'm just glad it all worked out, because to not have a repeat of what happened the previous Olympics is a bonus. But yeah, y'all, make sure you check out the Redeem Team, out now, okay? Only on Netflix, okay? Check out the Redeem Team, out now, only on Netflix, okay? And just like that, y'all, we gone. Peace.